evening, brothers, sisters, family, friends, everybody. I am so glad to be with you today because we just have a great program for you. We're coming to you live from Utah, Alabama. And Sister Moshe is right there with Bishop Luke Edwards and his family. When I say his family, I'm talking about two of his most trusted and closest age, uh, brother and sister Walker. But Sister Moshe, could you introduce everybody?
Yes, greetings. Happy new day, new opportunity to make a difference in the divine community. Grateful to be on locations with an organization called Reach, and they will give you more detail in reference to the beginning, the present, and the future. Right now, to my right, I have again Sandra Walker, and I'm going to give her an opportunity to introduce herself in more detail, what she stands for and what she represents. And of course, next to her is Mr. Walker, and he can give more detail and representation of himself as well. So I hand over the mic to the right, to the sister, and so she can give you more detail. And with that, I'm complete.
Thank you.
Well, hello. My name is
Hello.
Sandra, and I live here in Utah, Alabama, on Edwards Drive. And here we have established a community where we all live together. We call it All Things Common, where we come together, eat together, sing together, shout together, pray together, visit one another together, and we work with the community in order to bring the wholesomeness together. God's part, along with the other part, coming together to raise up our little city called Utah, Alabama, with a vision that God had given Bishop Edwards that's over 60 years ago. So I'm just one of those that come in and try to make things happen. I do a lot within the community and also outside of the community. I want to tell you I'm the extended hand to the world and the church.
All right, my name is Brother Barry Walker. I'd like to say hello.
All
Uh,
right. Hello.
I'm also a deacon here at the Greater Christ Temple Apostolic Faith Church, and this is my wife, Sister Sandra Walker. We've been married for 38 years. Isn't that a blessing?
Yes.
Amen. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit, Reverend Brown, if it's okay, I'm going to go right into kind of explaining and give a little history about Reach and
Oh,
who and how we
please.
started.
Yeah, please do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Reach. Over 40-some years ago, uh, my pastor, Bishop Edwards, born in Florence, Alabama, moved to Michigan and went into the military, came out, tried to start a couple of businesses, uh, got called into the ministry, and he tried to do what my wife said, reading the Bible in chapter 4 of the book of Acts talks about having all things in common. It says the people sold their possessions and laid it down at the apostles' feet, and distribution was made according to their needs. So, in so many ways, God convinced him to come back south. Uh, Mind you, during that time, back south, KKK was still in existence, and a lot of prejudice was going on here in the South. The South was something that everybody, or a place that everybody tried to get away from, not come to. But God led him back and convinced him to stay back and to help his people. Uh, Bishop Edwards made trips, several trips, all the way from Michigan down to Mississippi, back and forth. He worked in the cotton fields, believe that or not, worked in the cotton fields to raise money. And the little money that he made from picking cotton, he gave it to the church. This is a man I've known for over 40-some years, almost 50 years. This is a person that I've known. His heart is for the people. You know, we always say that we love God, but the only way to love God is to love his people. Okay, back during that time, we're going to talk a little bit about Reach. Reach is a nonprofit arm of Greater Christ Temple Apostolic Faith Church. Okay, now the way we started, you know, Bishop Edwards had his message to us. You know, the church started in Meridian, Mississippi. And his message to the church at that time was we have just as much right as the people to create, own, and operate our own. To create, own, and operate our own. Now, he was talking to a group of uneducated welfare recipients, getting food stamps every month, getting a welfare check every month, living from check to check. He was teaching us how to create our own businesses, operate our own businesses. Okay, the question at that time, now I was just a little boy, but that I remember. The question was, Bishop, how can we do that? You know, we don't have master degrees. We don't have paying jobs. All we got is welfare. All we got is our food stamps at the time. This was before EBT. This was before technology. You know, if y'all remember the little books that you had to tear out the $5, the $10, the $20. That was during that time. So how can we create and own and operate our own? You know, and that's all we had. So at one of the meetings at the church, he had a secretary to get a tablet and pass it around through the congregation and told them, I want everybody to write down how much money the government is giving you. Just write it down, how much money you're receiving from the government every month. He said, don't put your name. I don't need to know who you are, how much. Just put how much you're getting. When they did that, he told the secretary to take time and add it up. And when she added it up, for the first time, a green light came on in our eyes. Our understanding was open. He said, look at what the government is giving you every month. Now, the magic is, this is what you're doing together. Separately, you just wait until the next check come along. But together, you have enough money to create. You have enough money to own. You have enough money to operate your own business. The government is giving you this amount of money to free yourself, but you got to stay together. That was the key. Now, somebody said, how in the world do you get black folks to work together? You know, you can't get black folks to work together.
You want to come
God
in?
can. God is the only somebody that truly loves us. And he will give us an opportunity if we want to rise above, if we want to free ourselves. You know, and God said that we are city that sit on a hill, we cannot be hid. And God does not want our people or his children to be controlled. So he created an avenue in the Bible. If we would just follow the instructions, he created that avenue. So how we got started with our business? We created a grocery store inside of the church building. Now, church is the people.
Can I ask you, how many parishioners did Bishop have at that time?
At that time, I would probably safely say maybe about 50.
Okay.
Maybe, was it that many? Maybe about in the beginning, maybe about 50 or 60, maybe. It grew afterwards. But when we first started, when I became a member, I'm gonna say it maybe about 50.
Okay.
But anyway, we pulled our resources together, Reverend Brown, and we created a grocery store in the church. Now, how we did that, Bishop Edwards went to a local wholesaler, and he convinced that wholesaler to give the church enough groceries, and we would pay them at the end of the month. He explained now, you know, my members, they get food stamps or welfare checks every month. So in a month, we can pay you back. So I don't know how he did it, but he convinced the wholesaler to give us the groceries on consignment and then pay him when we get paid. So next step was, talk to the secretary, say, I want you to go to everybody that's shopping all the members that's actually doing the shopping, whether it's a woman, whether it's one of the men, whoever doing shopping in the house, talk to them. We got a list from the wholesaler of everything that they buy, everything that they sell, rather. And then we went to the person that was doing the shopping and say, look, this is the list. Okay, what I want you to do, instead of going down the street, buying from the other man, buy from yourself. All right, put your order in. So all we did was just order from the man what we was already buying from the other man. We ordered from the man what we was already buying from Kroger's, from Winn-Dixie, from whatever grocery store we were shopping at. We just ordered it from the wholesaler. Now we was buying it from ourselves. So when the food came in, we just told the members that I'll come pick up your order. They paid for their order. Now we have created a business without walls. We had a grocery store within our church building. All right, and when you set out to do something that's right, God will always prepare another way for you to grow. So there was actually a building, a grocery store right across the street from the church. It was called Buyer's Market. And it was a nice sized neighborhood store. It wasn't a corner market. It was a nice sized grocery store. And there was a white man there, and he was ready to get out of the business. He was older, and I don't know how he got wind that we wanted to go into business, but he did, and he approached us with an idea with a certain amount. I'll let you come in here, we make a down payment, and I'll let y'all take on my ongoing business. So we did. It was right in line to what we wanted. So now in the store, now we got used to spending money with ourselves. Now we got the public coming in spending their food stamps with us. Okay, now the government is giving us money. We're taking the same money and spending it with ourselves. As a business owner, welfare recipients, as a business owner, taking these food stamps, taking them to the bank, and the bank is giving us cash for them. We were growing leaps and bounds to the point where they were afraid of us at that point. Like these black folks, and I'm not prejudiced, but that's what they were saying. We were in Mississippi now, so they were like, these black folks gonna take over. They said the same thing that Pharaoh said about the Hebrew children, and he said, hey, these folks they growing in numbers. They're gonna be more powerful than we are. If they ever decide to have an uprising against us, they're gonna take over. So that's what they feared. They feared that these black folks, they done learned something. I don't know how they're doing what they're doing, but they're gonna take over. So they devised a plan. Yeah, and we opened at one store, then later we opened a second store, and later third store, and later another smaller fourth store. So we were like growing. People was actually saying, you know what, it's time for me to leave Meridian. People was actually afraid that we was going to take over. These black folks going to own everything. So some of them was actually planning on leaving the city. But they had a plan, just like Pharaoh had a plan for the Hebrews. They had to get them enslaved, kill the young male children. He had a plan. So they devised the plan. Their plan was, we're going to go up on their food. We're going to talk to the wholesalers and make the wholesalers go up on their prices, charge them more money than they charging their competitors. So all we know is Reverend Brown is the business slacked up. And we couldn't figure out why. We knew prices that went up, but we thought everybody's prices that went up. Prices that went up, our business started dropping. So one of the wholesalers, the sales rep, came in one day and he knew what was going on. But he wouldn't say anything, but he knew it. So he intentionally, accidentally left an invoice to one of our competitors, just so we could see the prices that they was giving the other people. And mind you, their store was smaller than ours. We had a larger store and more stores than they did. But they were getting better prices than we were. So somebody said, well, why didn't you just go at them? Why you didn't sue the wholesalers, for being unfair or whatever? But Bishop Evans, being a minister, he
Uh,
always, yes, sir.
Barry,
Yes,
just
sir.
for a point of clarification, because Bishop did tell me that story. He told me though that the delivery person was a
Yes,
brother, and that
yes,
the brother couldn't, just come out and tell him that the wholesaler was charging him more, but he wanted to help. He was a
that's
brother,
right.
so he uh like left the invoice, like you say, so the bishop could see it and read it and understand what was going on. The other black people in the community also, is Utah a fairly big community, but the black people in the community seem to have really wanted to support and work together with y'all from what I could see when I was there and understand. But I never got a feeling of how big that community was, but I know it was more cohesive than a lot of the communities. Black people did seem to come together and work together. And go ahead on with your story. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Now that was in where we started out was in Meridian, Mississippi, and Meridian has about 60, well, 40 some thousand people there in Meridian. So it's a fairly large area. And our store was in a fairly uh, heavily populated black area. It was a nice area, but it was a black area. So most of our business was black. But anyway,
Hmm.
after they devised that plan, and people thought that we should fight against it, but we didn't. You know, Bishop Edwards being a minister, he always prays before he make a move. And what God told him that, God don't need his people to be controlled. And what he could see that anytime you have to, your business depends on the life, or the life of your business depends on somebody else, and that somebody else can always control your business. So we made a conscious decision to close all the stores and come at it a different angle. We realized that we got to produce, market, sell our own. So the only way to produce your own, you gotta have the land. Just like God told the children of Israel, I'm gonna take you to the promised land. The land has everything in it that you need. All promises is it wrapped up and tied up in the land. The wealthiest people in this country, they own the land. So we started putting our money in land. We had saved up a little money. We started buying land. Now, land was real cheap. Now, the reason that we got it cheap, during that time, God always makes a way. He always provides a way. Back during that time, Ronald Reagan became president. And at that time, the banks, if you can remember, the banks were in trouble. And Ronald Reagan had a slogan, and his slogan was "Pay up or liquidate." He was telling all the farmers, a lot of them had borrowed money, made these big loans from the bank, and he told all the farmers, you either got to pay up or you got to liquidate. So a lot of them didn't have the money to pay up, so they had to liquidate. So these banks was out there on their property having sale. And guess who was at the auction? We were right there at the auction. We had a little money, and at the auction at that time, all you had to do was make a down payment, and then I think they gave you like 90 days to pay it off. So we made the down payment, and then we would do anything else that we needed to do to raise the money in those 90 days to finish paying that property off. We sold peanuts, we sold peanut brittle, we sold fish sandwiches, barbecue sandwiches, we sold burgers, we did whatever we had to do. I think they made pies at one time. We did whatever we had to do, working together, pulling our resources together to pay that land off. And we did several pieces of property like that. We went from zero revenue, zero, owning almost 4,000 acres of land. Now, we didn't get this land from black folks. We got it from whites. And ever since we got it, there's been somebody out there trying to take it. Ever since we got that land, somebody out there has been trying to take it. We ain't supposed to have this kind of land. We're not supposed to have this kind of land. They're afraid when they see us working together the way we were doing. Just like the bank will loan. They'll give you money to go buy a car. You put it in the house. But when you talking about buying a bunch of land, like I said, we went from zero. We have land. We studied. Our mindset was still to produce. So we started planting vegetables. We went to auction. We bought farm equipment, tractors, whatever, dozers, front end loaders, combiners. We hit the auction. We didn't want to take the little money that we saved and go buy something brand new so we could look like we doing good, and then put ourselves in a bind trying to make payments and pay it off. No, we went straight to the auction. We spent our money wisely, and we started producing our own. We started row cropping. We could sell our vegetables, whatever. We did what we had to do to make it work. So we went from zero to now about 4,000 acres of land. We started our own school. We got our own neighborhoods. This Michelle is sitting right here in one of the houses. We got 22 brick homes in our neighborhood. We have our church. We got our home for the elderly right here in little old Utah, Alabama. Now this is, when you start doing something like this, I hate to say it, but people get jealous. Your own color start fighting you. In fact, you start shining the light, Reverend Brown, on people that don't want the light shined on them. And I hate to say it again, but we got issues with our leaders and our pastors and our preachers. The people will follow their pastors and their preachers almost anywhere. But they got to lead them right. They got to lead them right. Our bishop had a vision years ago, and he said, in his vision, there was a shepherd, he was holding a staff, had a dog with him, and he was had a herd of sheep, and he was driving them across the field, and they came to a big hole in the field, like a crater, or like a bomb or something that exploded. And when they got to the crater, they split up and went two different ways. Then he set the dog on to try to get them back in line, try to get them back together. A few minutes later, another instant, same vision. Same shepherd, staff, no dog, same herd of sheep. But this time, he went in the back, Reverend Brown. He was standing in the front. And he was leading the sheep across the field. When he got to the crater, he went to the right, and guess what happened? All the sheep followed. You gotta have leaders. If we lead, the people will follow. You can't drive them. You can't have a sermon, do as I say do. But you gotta have a sermon that says, hey, just do what I do. I'm gonna show you how to do. Yes, sir. And that's what Bishop Edwards did. He taught us what preaching really is. Anybody can stand up in front of the church on the pulpit and deliver a message and say, I'm preaching. But preaching is when you come down out of the route and put your work clothes on, your boots, your cowboy hat you used to wear, and then show us how to do it. We need leaders to show us. We do not know the way. How can they hear without a preacher? And how can he preach unless God sent him? In other words, we can't even hear without the preacher. In other words, God going to tell the preacher what to say. He's going to give the message to the preacher, just like he did Moses. That doesn't change. He's going to give the message to the preacher, and the preacher going to talk to and give that message to the people. Now, every now and then, the people going to rise up and say, hey, we don't want to hear you, just like they did Moses. Say, we want to hear from God ourselves. We want to talk to God for ourselves. And y'all know the story of what happened. And that quickly changed and said, no, Moses, okay, we're going to let you talk to God. So if we do it right, that God talk to the preacher and the preacher talk to us, then we're going to be okay. But now on the other end of that, everybody now wants to be a preacher. And then say that God told me to tell you this and that. But now the Bible also says a tree is known by the fruit that it bears. So I want to see the fruit. We can argue all day and night in the wintertime about is that an apple tree or a peach tree. But that tree will tell us for itself. When springtime comes, When it's time to bear fruit, then we're going to know if it's an apple or a peach. And can't nobody argue no more. So you tell me I'm a preacher, show me some fruit. If not, I'm sorry. I can't follow you because I want to know who I'm following. A tree is known by the fruit that it bears. So God is looking for a people, first of all, or a preacher that loves his people. And when you do something like this, it can't be for the money. It's got to be for the people. God is just looking for somebody to love his children. We can't give God anything else but ourselves. You know, he got children that need to be taken care of. But once he finds that Moses that really cares about his people, then he'll give them the world. He'll give you whatever it takes to help his children. So number one, you got to be honest, and you got to have a certain kind of concern and compassion for the people. And I can go on and on. I'm excited. I'm 57 years old. I've never had a public job a day in my life. I joined this ministry when I was 10. I've been here ever since. I live in a brick home. I'm sitting in the sitting room right now. I have 4 children. Everybody's been taken care of. Everybody eats. You know, the church take care of, and we're the church. Say that again. But the church take care of all our medical bills, our food, utilities. I don't know what my light and gas bill is. I don't know. We have somebody else that takes care of that and handles that. We created something where we don't have all that stress and pressure. You know, the stuff that give you gray hair. We're not stressed out with all that stuff, Reverend Brown. We're not stressed out with all that. God wants us just free to do his will. Free to do his will. But we, for whatever reason, we just like some of those children of Israel that was following Moses. And when they got out there and ran into a little tight, got in a little tight, they'll know, well, I don't know we're going to eat tonight. Some of them told Moses, well, we'd have been better off you. We'd have stayed back there in slavery. You know, we didn't came out here, you come out here, we're going to die. We might as well stay there and die. So some of us is waiting for an opportunity to run back into slavery and work for the other man. Let me tell you one other story, just a quick one.
Okay.
I took a trip to Africa, Reverend Brown, and I visited a plantation. And it was a tea plantation. And at this tea plantation, they had the owner or the master had little huts. And this was about 10 years ago. They had little huts built out there for the people that work in these fields. All right. Beside the huts, right behind there was a church. And then there was a school. And then over to the side of that, there was a general store.
There was a general store?
General store. So putting the fear of God in, educating his children, their children. I wanted to do what? You know, to be a better servant, an educated servant for him. But they had nowhere else to go. They worked in the fields. That was the only thing to look forward to. But then at the end of the day, he paid the people a little money. And guess where they spent their little money? Right back at his store. So they gave him to him. They gave him the money. They took the same money, go right to his store and give it right back to him. Don't that kind of sound familiar?
Like colonialism.
Don't that sound familiar? They paying us money. They giving us the money. Guess what we taking?
Right back.
Stimulus package. Oh, I'll give you all the money you want. You're going to give it right back to me. They'll stop giving us that stimulus money if we start putting that money together and doing something to free ourselves. I guarantee you won't see that money, Reverend Brown. But they comfortable giving you money. They don't have no problem with it because you're going to give it right back.
Yeah.
So that's my story. I can preach all day, and I can talk about this all day, but our people really need to understand. And it's not that they're dumb or they're slow or they're ignorant to the fact, but we just need to be educated about certain things. I wouldn't know what I know if it wasn't for Bishop Luke Edwards. Somebody that set me down and broke things down to me and gave me an understanding and opened up my eyes so I can understand and I can see for myself. So ever since I was 10, I've been living this, walking in this. And unlike other groups that's just talking, We got something to show, Reverend Brown. So
Let,
I
let
want to
me,
leave that, before we get through, I want to leave that invitation out there to anybody that wants to come and see for yourself, like Sister Moshe did. And just like you did, Reverend Brown, when you heard about us, you made a trip all the way from New York. You got
right.
some people right over in the next county, over in the next state. They won't come over here.
That's true.
And it's sad that
Um,
some of the preachers don't want their members to come.
Now, I've been earlier
Yes, sir.
showing the documentary that I did years ago of Reach Organization, and
Yes, sir.
I showed people the mall that you had bought. You had hotels, you had gas stations. I think a bus station.
Yes, sir.
Uh, the farm with cows and chickens and everything. I mean, it was just fantastic. And you had like 5,000 acres of land. And then you brought that big, beautiful truck stop over on, I think it's Highway 52, uh,
59 and
90. And at some point, um, people just, and primarily it would be the, I'm just going to say state because it's they all work together, the banks and everything. When you start getting too independent and too big, white people, a lot of them, and I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them, they feel it's necessary to bring you down. And y'all came under attack, systematic attack to try to take what you have and destroy you.
yes, sir.
Can you tell us about that and what, when you finish telling us, then we want to ask people how they can help you and so forth and so on.
Well, I'll make that one as short as I can. But this attack been on us. The major attack happened in 2011, and there was a default judgment. Well, before then, I tell you what. Before then, there was three guys, one preacher, one disbarred attorney, and one the preacher was also a disbarred attorney. And then we had another businessman, and we thought they was all friends. Some of them stayed in our neighborhood, some stayed in motels that we had. One of them worked in a truck stop, so we thought they was friends. We was interested because we were raising cattle, and we still have about 400 to 500 head of cattle. At that time, we wanted to go into a big meat processing business. There was a processing plant that came open up for sale in Oakland, Mississippi. And we used these guys, business sense, legal minds, to try to apply or acquire a loan for us. And in the process, they changed the name on a piece of our property illegally. We had to put up some collateral. When you're trying to get a loan, you have to put up collateral. So illegally, they changed the name from incorporated to an LLC. And at first, we didn't even pick it up, you know. But when we found out, we kind of went in and say, "Hey, you got to change this back. We didn't give you permission to do this." And they was claiming this land belongs to us. We didn't get the loan for whatever reason they conspired to take. It was a 325 acre piece of property in Decatur, Mississippi. Anyway, we took them to court over in Newton County, Mississippi. We won the case, and the case was won with prejudice. With prejudice means it's not supposed to come up again. That's it. It's final. But somehow, some way, they end up over in Alabama, came across state lines, and they reopened this case again. And we kind of took it for granted at first because it was like, well, this is with prejudice, they can't open this case again. But whenever we learn our lesson, whenever they tell you to come to court, no matter what and how frivolous it sounds, come to court. But anyway, we had an attorney at the time told us, well, they got a pretrial hearing coming up. You don't have to be there. I'll be there as your attorney, and we just gonna say, well, y'all want to fight this, right? Yeah. I'll let them know we want to have a trial. So he said, but I'll be there to represent. Next thing we know, we had a $6.5 million default judgment against us.
How did that come about?
Our attorney didn't even tell us. We
Six,
heard about it.
6 point.
Somebody met somebody on the street and said, you know, I'm sorry y'all lost that case. Y'all got that judgment. We ain't lost no case. Somebody trying to sue us, but we ain't lost nothing. But that ain't what the paper said. It was listed in the paper before we found out that we even had a default judgment. So we questioned our attorney, and he said, well, yeah, I was there, but I'm going to file something to kind of overturn that. I was there, and our case never came up. He said, I was sitting in the courtroom waiting for our case to be called, and when it never did, he said, I asked the judge, I said, well, I'm waiting on such and such a case to come up, my client's case to come up. He said, and the judge told him, said, oh, that's already been signed in the hallway. And so we appealed it. The judge wouldn't overturn the default. So we appealed it with the state. He files late with the state. Anybody know anything about law? When you file something late, that means that court is not going to hear you. They're not going to hear that case. So they just send it right back.
How many millions of dollars was it again? 6.5?
$6.5 million default judgment, just to say we didn't show up in court. We never got a hearing, anything. So when our attorney filed late, the state court just, we read his argument later, in the first paragraph, said, I know this is untimely. So he's like letting them know this, I'm way out of time. But I'm filing this anyway. So when they read this, well, it's untimely, so we don't have jurisdiction over that. So they send us right back to the same local court. Same court. And we did everything we could we've been fighting this 11 years. We filed everything that we could think of. Filed bankruptcy, we did this, we did that. Some people say, well, y'all should get a high power attorney and sue the pants off of it. High power attorney costs high power money. And, and you keep fighting, and we went through several different attorneys. You don't know who is who. You don't know who you can trust. And they say attorneys have an association that they belong to. And some things they can do, some things they're not going to do. So, but they lead you on to believe that they're going to do this. All you had to do was this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. But when you hire them and you get to court, then it's something different. They started slowly backing off of what they said that they were going to do in the beginning. And they just kind of leave you high and dry. So you kind of start thinking, I don't know, man, is this guy on the same team with them or not? Are he representing us? You don't know. So you go get another attorney. Then you get the same thing. We even hired an attorney to sue our first attorney for malpractice because he filed late.
Would you say these attorneys are working with the state of I
can't say that. We don't know how far it goes or how deep it goes. It could just be a local ring. I don't know. I talked to an attorney one time in Birmingham, Alabama, and I started giving him the story. And he started laughing. And I said, why you laughing? And he told me, he said, that's what we call in Birmingham a good case of home cooking. And I said, home cooking? I said, what you mean by that? He said, well, that's when you got a high power attorney, and he basically owns the judge and all the other local attorneys in the town, and they conspire to take your land and take whatever they want to take from you. They work together to do it. And I said, you sure that's what that was? He said, oh, I'm positive. He said, now, that doesn't happen that much in larger cities because it's just too many attorneys, too many judges. He said, but in small towns like that, they run that game on people all the time. But now, even though he knew this, he wasn't going to take our case. But they'll tell you right quick, well, I'm not going after no judge. I'm not going after another attorney. They'll tell you that. They might make it seem like they're going at them, but they don't really go at them. So we've been fighting this. We filed bankruptcy because we had property in Alabama and Mississippi. We filed bankruptcy in Alabama. We filed just about so we figure out what we're going to do. Then after a while, the statute of limitations started just running out. Started running out on this, running out on that, running out on this. So they have actually probably in the last year or two, couple of years, they probably sold about 1,000 acres of our property. And what they're trying to do, I mean, it's a long story. You'd have to go through the whole case to kind of figure out how they done what they did. They even went back and pulled some property that was in, our church has several corporations. And the property wasn't in one of the corporations that they sued where they thought the property was. So they went back into one of the other corporations and found out that we had transferred some property like 3-4 years prior to this lawsuit. They said we tried to avoid this payment that we owed to a mortgage company. And they claimed that we fraudulently transferred this property out of one corporation to the other corporation. And this was 3 or 4 years prior to this. But they was able somehow to connect with this mortgage company. And they said that we had a deficiency judgment out there. All we know, they had took our property and sold it and got their money. We didn't know that there was a judgment still out there. So they used this judgment to say, okay, this corporation at this time, we had filed bankruptcy in Mississippi. So they were going after all the property. They had control of this corporation. We tried to file a Chapter 7 reorganization bankruptcy, but they put us in a Chapter 7, which means they was going to liquidate our assets and the creditors, pay the creditors off. So what happened, they somehow connected with this mortgage company, and they got together and tried to prove that we fraudulently transferred this property to try to avoid them. And they proved it. They had the same court, well, they didn't prove it, but it was in the same local court, same judge, the same attorney was not even attached to this, but he comes in every now and then. We had a jury trial, and he sits right across the courtroom from the jury and just stares them down. So they won that case. So we had all the property that we had transferred 3 or 4 years prior. We had to put it back into the corporation now that they have possession of. And then they started trying to sell it. So they know our church has several different corporations. So I don't know what they're going to do next. But, I've talked to several people. I talked to a paralegal. I can't call her name. She was actually a preacher. And she said she worked for this huge law firm. She said she's been with them for about 30 years. And she told her when she found out how much land she said, oh, it's about the land. I said, it's about, she said, oh, yeah. That much land? So y'all ain't supposed to have that much land. She said, I want to tell you something. It's always been and always will be about the land. And say, and also remember, they're always 2-3 steps ahead of you. He said, but y'all gonna win because God is on your side. If he wasn't on your side, y'all been lost. But it looked like God is on your side, so just hang in there. You're gonna win. And we believe that. We're on the winning team. We still got God. And even if they take everything from us, just like they did, Job lost everything. But he got double in return. So God, as long as we stay on his side, we're gonna be okay. But whatever help that anybody can give us, we still fighting. We hadn't gave up yet. We still got some things that we got filed here and there. It just takes money to fight. Everybody, attorneys they ain't gonna fight for free. And it looks like your money's slowing up. Here's what they slow up. They tell you they really concerned. We're gonna do this and that, but no, it ain't that way. So that's kind of the situation that we're in. But on that hand, it's looking like it's looking. But on the other hand, Reverend Brown, man, God is still blessing. We got trucks. We got buses that we own. Sister Moshe saw them. You know, we got food trucks coming in, furniture that God is just giving by the truckload, appliances that we're getting by the truckload, and it's just given to us. And we're able to help so many people with it. You know, so on one hand, God is still blessing. And even in our little town of Utah, we have our town. She can kind of tell you a little bit more about that, but our town is really gone down. A lot of businesses, a lot of small town, a lot of the stores is closed. But God has given us an opportunity. We went in and we purchased a lot of these buildings. We purchased cleaners, mechanic shop, another couple of buildings we turned into a little furniture store, a coffee shop. We also purchased an old theater. We went in and did some remodeling. We put on a couple of concerts already. You know, so God is, you know, it looked like we're going down on one end, but on the other end, God is like, hey, I still got you. I'm still here with you. You might not see but one set of footprints right now, but this is where I'm carrying you.
Yes.
Amen.
Sister Moshe, look, if you're having as much fun, you know, being there as I had when I was there, and I've been there about 3 or 4 different times to see Bishop, and I understand everything that Barry is saying. Tell us about your stay, what you've seen, and what you feel, and uh, Sister Barry, I I'm not overlooking you. I want to hear something from you as well, but I'd like to hear what our Roman reporter has to say to us.
Well, in all actuality, I'm going to give this opportunity for Miss Walker to speak, you know, simply because you already know I can talk. So I just want to make sure that she has her opportunity so I don't run over, you know. I can laugh. I'm so excited. I got like goosebumps all over me. And when I feel like that, it's getting ready to run over. So I'm going to let Sister Walker speak right now, and then I'll come up as the caboose.
Well, I guess look like it's on me now. So let me tell you why I come in. I was talking earlier, and I was saying that I was the extended hand of the church to our community or to the world. That's the way I phrased it earlier. And what has happened is my husband was telling you about everything that was going on, and then we got into the blessing part of it. And this is where I came in. 1920, somewhere 19, I'm sorry, 2019. I decided that I would run for mayor of this city. Yes, sir. The city has actually been in black leadership for 52 years. But the town is diminishing. As I always say, it has gone ghost. And in going ghost, you know, we have more people that are moving out. We have no opportunities. We have no entertainment. Everything was just, it just bye-bye. There is a time where, and right now still is, where there are more people moving out because there are not any opportunities here. We have boiled down from 2 grocery stores to 1, from 3 pharmacies at one time to 1. We have no, just dollar stores, no major stores here. The essential needs of our people have not been met as far as in the market line. Nowhere to buy clothing, shoes, purses, nothing that we women feel like, you know, we want to go out and be sharp in, you know, that's the world in. So we didn't have that. And what I said to myself was, we need to grow. Utah is the county seat of Greene County. And we were starting to look real bad at one time. All the businesses was closing up. Downtown, you had more businesses closed than you had open. So I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to come in and be able to get our city to flourishing again. So the vision that I had was to come in and all of the essential businesses that was needed, then we will bring them back. We will bring back the dress shops because what happens is in a small town, in a small community, if you do not have anything to generate revenue within the city or the town, what happens? It goes to another place. Everywhere builds up, and then you just become ghost, as we were. So, sadly but goodly, I did not win the title of mayor in 2020. But God made me to know that when I commission you to do something, you don't have to have a title to do it. So I spoke with my pastor, Bishop and Luke Edwards, and began to put the vision that I had and what I saw into him. And he said, whatever you want to do, I'm going to back you up on that. This is what we're supposed to do. This is what the church is supposed to do. So we went out without grants. We went out without any loans, and we decided to start um, revitalizing the town. Someone approached me with some buildings that they had for sale, and that started it. The first three buildings, we bought them. And after that, somebody told me about the theater that was there. And I thought, well, we got a theater here. Nothing is being done to it or with it. It's just sitting there so high right now. So I talked with the bishop, the board. We decided to get that. Then we got the other part of the sidewalks. So right now, we actually own a whole sidewalk in Utah down Bowlegi Street. We own an empty lot across from the properties, an empty lot on the side of the properties. The theater, we recently purchased on 43 heading toward Demopolis, a restaurant with a barber shop and a beauty salon. Well, of course, we can't run all of that. But our thing is, if you can bring the businesses here and people are willing to rent it out, to do what they're licensed to do, it helps all of us. So we were able to do that. We still have a couple of buildings that we haven't put anything in. We have upstairs where we have the coffee shop and the cleaners. That's the part that can be rented out also. So we're trying to make things happen here for this little town. And believe it or not, it is looking up. People are really excited that something is coming in, especially the old Hooks Theater, where we did have two gospel concerts because gospel is what I know. But we have people now, and I'm talking to people about bringing other different theatricals or plays, bands, whatever is needed, comedy shows to keep it moving. And as we continue to keep that moving, well, that brings entertainment here. And then that shines a light in Utah. Then people will be able to travel, come here, be able to spend their money. And then when they're spending their money here, we're raising the town up. We're drawing people to here. And people are actually going to come in and start opening up other businesses. Revenue begin to generate in here. And you will see us be on the map again. So that's where my little hand is, the extended hand. I'm also, let me tell you this, I am a board member of the Historical Society here. I work with a little group called the Gardeners Club, where we go out and clean up and do flowers around the county square courthouse. I also have a little thing that we do through our church called the Love Tree. I'm the chairwoman of that to make sure children get gifts at Christmas time. According to Reach, I am the public relations person, so I'm always out involved in something, trying to get something happening here in Utah and letting the people know that this is what the church is all about. It's about coming together with everybody and trying to make things work. That's the way God had it set up in the beginning, and we're just at extended hand. As was Barrett already said, my husband of 38 years is letting you know about the furniture, the food, and everything that we give out. You know, at some point, I also want to open up a kitchen where we're able to feed people, because we have a lot of people that are still out hungry and they don't have. But this is the role of a church, to show love, to give love, and to do love. One thing I do believe, and that is love is what love does. So under the leadership of Bishop Luke Edwards, we have learned to love. Everybody want to love Jesus, whom you never seen, but you want to hate your brother that you see every day. And I realize the only time that we can actually serve God is serving him through his people. So I've become that servant. I enjoy what I do, going out mingling with the people. I'm at every city council meeting. I'm at the county commissioners meeting. A part of the Chamber of Commerce. You know, whatever happens here, I want to be a part of it, to let them know the church is here and we will help you. We are the extended hand. So all you have to do is allow us to work together. It's about being together, doing together. My slogan is, together we can. And the reason is that because if we are together, if we work together, then there is nothing we cannot accomplish. So that's my little role.
Reverend Brown, if I can add to that, we always, when you hear us talking a lot of times, when we talking about what we are doing, is most time we're gonna say we,
Yes.
us, or ours. The first time I didn't even realize I was saying it. One time I had some guests and I was carrying them around, and I had a couple of brothers on the back seat, and there was another one up front beside me, and I was talking, and I overheard the ones on the back, like one of the brothers said, "Listen, listen, listen." I said, "Listen." He said, "What you talking about?" I said, "Listen, listen." What you talking about? I said, "Listen what he's saying. He's saying we, us, and ours." And for the first time, it kind of clicked. And he said, "You don't hear us talk like that." He said, "What black folks you hear talk like that?" Everything we've been taught is to be individuals. Go to school, get a good education, get married, whatever, have a nice family. I'm gonna do for me, you do for you. I got mine, you got yours. This is the land of opportunity. You got the same opportunity I got, but we don't all have the same gifts or talent. But if we come together, then everybody's needs can be met. So everything that we own is owned by us. Everything that we do it. And everything you see this is ours. This is our project. This is our neighborhood. This is ours. So when you start talking like that, you have concerns for everything that you do. And there's another passage of scripture in the Bible that it says, "Love your neighbor as yourself." How can you love your neighbor as yourself when y'all are not together? Y'all are not one. But if you are one, then I can love you just like I love me. When what you have belongs to me, what I have belongs to you, then I can love you just like I love myself. When I'm fixing on your house that you living in, I'm fixing on my house too. When I cut the grass that's in front of the house that you live in, it's my grass too. You know, everything that happens up here, when you can do it collectively together, because everybody owns, everybody have an interest in everything, then I can love my neighbor next door. I can love her just like I love me. If a storm comes through and damage the house, guess what? That's my house too. I'm gonna be out there fixing on the house because that's my house too. So I can love my neighbor as myself. Love is not something you just say, Reverend Brian. It is something that you do. It's something that you do. And our pastor right now, Bishop Edwards, is 95 years old. He's 95 years young.
I understand that he's still going out to the field and he's still leading his men. And y'all get out in the field like 5 o'clock in the morning. It's like unbelievable. So Barry,
yes, sir.
thank you, Sister Walker. Thank you so much. Look, I hate you didn't get that mayorship. I think you should run again in what 2022. I think you should keep trying. I think you'll make a wonderful mayor. If I could, I'd come down there and vote for you.
All you gotta do is move.
Yeah, but when I move, I want to go on to Africa. I gotta, yeah, I want to go home. Sister Moshe, uh, you have the last word, and you have as much time as you want.
Well, I mean, I'm surprised my cheeks aren't swelled up from just smiling so much. Um, the actual joy actually happened when you allowed me to meet Brother Gary, Barry, for the first time over the phone. And because he was so open to receive me and to hear me, and we actually had the ability to communicate like brothers and sisters should, that set the tone for I know this is in divine order because the visions that you had, Baba Brown, and the visions that I had that I shared with you, I was always out searching for an example of what the Spirit was revealing, what needs to be done. We can hear it, from people's mouths, and we can read it in a book, but I needed some tangible evidence. I needed tangible evidence that when people come together, they can have a difference of ethnicity, they can have a difference of maybe even religion or spirituality, but just like our enemies who are of all different creeds, but when they come together and they had an agreement to come up against us and destroy us because they want to beat us, but at the same time, they have to make agenda to get rid of us to make their lie appear true. Okay, so now we take that same concept from a divine mind, a divine word, and divine heart, and divine hands and feet for action. We can come together in our differences, but we can have to come together with the same mindset of the vision and what work has to be done. And it's not about everyone trying to be the chief, because in all actuality, you have to be an Indian before you can even come to being a chief. But that is because you're manifesting a rites of passage through your works and the things that you stand for, and you can come together and create. So, and then when I met my sister, I was like blown away because we have so much in common. So much in common. It's like I'm sitting next to my twin sister here, basically.
Yes.
And when the spirit was telling me before I even met Barry and Sandra Walker that I needed to start surrounding myself around people um, who can actually show me as an example of what it is that I was mandated to do. And that surround yourself with people with positive energy, that encouragement, and that can actually teach you something. Because the divine spirit can open our minds and show us everything in visual or in spirit. But until it matches your heart and your agenda to come together, for it to become as one and actually do the work, like you said, you can tell the fruit by the tree. I mean, the tree by the fruits it bears. They are definitely bearing fruit. I am so excited to get out tomorrow and get out in the field with the cows and the chickens and the horses and all of that is. But from what I take from this, you have to do more than just read. You have, just like the Spirit tells me, you walk as you learn, and you learn as you walk. So you're constantly in motion I mean, you're actually growing and you can actually manifest those things because this is the time and the season, you know, that the harvest is definitely plenteous, but the laborers are few. And then all it takes is for not the whole world to be in compliance to what it is that their vision is and that what needs to be done. All it
Mhm.
takes is that remnant, that small remnant of what the divine spirit take. I take the low and bring them high, and I take the high and bringing them low. And they're not even a competition no more because now that we see that the word is coming uncoded, it's coming to a manifestation. I love that Barry was able to point out, even if we lose everything that we have worked for, we know in the end is only a true beginning that we'll get everything double for our trouble. But it is time if you're going to read the book, because I was honest with you, I haven't been in a church in so long. It's almost I know that the Spirit says that I am the church, so I never really got confined into a church, and I don't necessarily I don't respond to any particular religion. I'm recognizing my spirituality, but I see the spirit in them, and their work
Mhm.
is actually a manifestation of spirit. You know, so even out of sight, out of mind, the spirit is present in the work that they have done, and I am just so grateful that you, Baba Brown, allowed me to be that traveling reporter to actually to see them and meet them, and that whatever it is that I can do personally, because I'm here to assist them. I'm just looking forward to doing it. So much more, and I'm actually going to create a short movie. I'll take some more pictures and videos and put it together and upload it on the channel. But it is definitely time when in that book and even outside the book among our African culture and indigenous culture, we know that the true wealth is the land. That's the reason
Yes.
why the Bible and other various perspectives always talk about land. That's where the real wealth is. Just like
Yes.
Betty said, you can go and get a loan for an automobile, a loan for a house, but when you start talking about land, then they have a problem with it. Simply because when he said that no, it was you, said that somebody told him that you're not supposed to have that much land.
Right.
Well, in all actuality, they basically told you the minimum, I mean, the maximum that you should get 40 acres and mule. Here they had 4,000 acres and not and more than a mule.
Okay.
You know, but whoever for them, who in their right mind would be against them? So the divine spirit is for them, and so in all actuality, we have to definitely look to the land because when all falls, in order for us to rise up, we have to make that communication with the spirit of the earth, with the spirit of the God of your understanding. The standing of the heart is the most important. Is love and being able to give it as well as receive it, be appropriate with it, and that too. In that case and in that word, I'm just so grateful and happy to be here in their presence and see how we grow from here. And with that, I'm complete.
Now, what I'd like to say in as my final word, um, you you exhibit and you express the kind of love that we have to have as a people if we're going to survive. We're going to have to learn how to live together with one another, or we're going to perish. So I am most pleased for the example that you have set and are setting for our people because our survival depends on it. So please continue doing what you're doing as an example, which is why I really wanted to have you as my guest today. So I want to thank you again, and I want to ask all of our people who are watching to subscribe to Tapvideo, ring the bell so we can keep you informed on what we are doing. And, you know, God bless. And when I say God, I'm talking about spirit. I'm talking about the creator. I'm talking about nature, which is what we are, one with each other. I'm breathing the same air you breathing. As you breathe it, I breathe it. It's going through both of us and all of us at the same time. We drink the same water. It flows through all of us at the same time. And we eat the earth. We eat, all of us eat it. We're the sun. We're one with nature. So, Barry, tell Bishop I send my love and my regards to the whole family. And again, thank you. And don't forget, we got the ports coming up this Friday, the spoken word. Stay with us. Stay tuned. We're going to bring in some real good stuff all the time. Have a
Bobby Brown,
yes.
is anybody asking any questions in the chat room?
I don't know because I'm going solo. I've never done this many programs at one time solo. Um, so I'm trying to learn.
Wait, let me see real quick because I'm sure some people have probably a lot of questions. If we can get to just at least a few of them, that would
Okay.
be helpful. But I'm gonna turn down the volume.
All right. Go ahead.
One second. Keep talking, Baba. Till I find, okay, here it is. Let me see what the people are saying so we can answer the questions. Like that. Or did you already cut it off?
No,
Or
we're
is this,
still on.
oh, that must have been the one you did earlier.
Yeah, it could be.
No, we can hear it. Uh, it's not showing live, Baba.
It's not.
No, it's like it already. Can you show your face?
No. Well, it's. I think it's live. It says it's live.
It says it's live, but it's not coming across YouTube as live. It looks like a pre-recording because there's nothing in the chat room, and it's got the red line at the beginning of the tape. That means it stopped, and it's running from the beginning before you even start. And it doesn't show anybody is watching. It says 194 views streamed an hour ago. So it must have cut off when we had came to an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. It cut off at an hour. But anyway,
Um.
So we went past an
It,
hour.
it said it's still recording. It says it's still recording.
okay, well, I'm on the channel right now. But nevertheless, I don't see any anybody in the chat room except for at 141. 141. Hmm. Okay. Well, nevertheless, there's going to be a part two.
Oh yeah,
Whatever,
we'll do a part two, definitely.
we can make up on part two because I got to go to the field tomorrow. So there's definitely going to be a part two.
All right.
Okay, I'm finished.
Okay. All right. We're gonna go down and we'll discuss this afterwards.
Okay.